Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my top 10 books. These aren't going to be in a particular order. They're just going to be like when I think of my top 10 books, I think of these 10 books. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, like physical copies, and then 4 of them I read like ebooks for and I have them ebook. So those I'm just going to pop up a little photo. And I'm sorry if you can hear the fan in the background. It is literally so hot in my house right now that it will drive me insane if I do not have that on. So I'm trying to talk a bit louder so you can hopefully not hear that. But yeah, and if you hear my cats in the background, I'm sorry, they are going crazy. Firstly is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman, and this is the third book, well, the third graphic novel in a graphic novel series about two boys, Nick and Charlie, and it's kind of their how they become friends, and it leads to more and them dating, all that. And this one specifically follows them on a school trip to Paris, and it's just a very cute and fluffy graphic novel, and I love it. Next would have to be Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody, and this is a fantasy series about a girl named N whose mother travels to this place called New Rains, which is aka the City of Sin, and her mother goes missing, and N goes and tries to find her mother. The only thing that she has is a letter. I think it's a letter or a note saying that something like, if I go missing or anything, contact, try and get a hold of this person named Leigh, who is the leader of a gang. I cannot for the life of me remember what the gang is called. I read this book last year, so yeah, and it is kind of how N and Levi trying to figure out what happened to N's mom, as well as these other things that pop up. So it's just kind of it's a very kind of thrill racing. It's kind of all that, and there is two books out in the series right now, and then one comes out in September. Excited for that. Next would have to be House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, and this is my most recent read that is on this list, as I just read this month when I'm uploading this. And this is a high fantasy series about a girl named Bryce who is a half-fae living in the city of Crescent City, which has a bunch of different magical creatures and all that, living in kind of in harmony a bit. And this is about her trying to figure out her best friend's murder with the help of someone who is assigned to help, and shit hits the fan a bunch of times, and it's just you don't know who did it the entire time. It is a lengthy book. It is, I think, the second longest book on this list, but yeah. Then we have Cheetah Gold by Cassandra Clare, and this is a book that takes place in the Shadowhunter universe, which, if you don't know what the Shadowhunter universe is, have you been living under a rock for the last decade or so? Shadowhunters are a race of humans who have angel blood, and that grants them abilities to have runes, where that gives them extra abilities, and they slay demons and all that. And this takes place in 1903 Edwardian London, with a group of teenagers who are everything was fine. Everything was fine. There was no demon attacks really until a few Shadowhunter families moved to London to different circumstances, and then these demons start attacking groups of shadow hunters, and some die. And this is kind of the story of these teens trying to figure out where these demons are coming from and get rid of them. And the teens in this series are the children of characters in the Infernal Devices series, which I will be mentioning one of those books later. So, yeah. Next we have A Quart of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the second book in the A Quart of Thorn and Roses series, so I can't really explain much about this book, but I can explain about the first one, which A Quart of Thorn and Roses is about a girl named Farah, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who kills a wolf in her outside of her village for food for her family. And the wolf ends up being a fae in like wolf form, and because she killed the fae, she gets dragged into the fae lands to as a punishment. And from there she has to try and break this curse that was placed upon the fairylands, I think it was 49 years prior, and kind of goes from there. And then I love the second book more because we get more of a character that is mentioned. That's we get more of the story, and the romance in that one literally might be like one of my favorite literary romances. It's definitely in there, like my top 5. So yeah. Next we have Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the sequel to Six of Crows. So again, I'm gonna have to explain Six of Crows, which Six of Crows is about a group of 6 people led by Casbrecker, who they do this heist in order to make money to pay off all the debts they have. And it is a very dangerous mission, and let's just say Kaz is kind of a shady-ish person. This series in general just has morally gray characters, which I love, and a lot of people actually compare Ace of Shades and their sequels to Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I kind of agree with, but they're 2 completely different stories. They just have similar elements. But I love Crooked Kingdom because it is kind of like the aftermath of that heist and realizing that what they thought was over truly isn't, and I just love all of the characters in this series. I want to reread it so bad right now, which I might have to soon, but yeah, Casbrecker is definitely in my top 10 like favorite literary characters, so I had to include this book on this list. Next, we have Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices series, and this is another Shadowhunter book, and this takes place in 2012 Los Angeles, and this, again, it's the 3rd book. Can't really explain much, but I will explain the 1st book, which is Lady Midnight. I totally blanked there, but Lady Midnight is about a Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne. Emma Carstairs' parents died 5 years prior, and this is it starts as a story of trying to figure out who murdered her parents, because the people who supposedly murdered her parents, she doesn't believe that they did. And it is a very first 2 books are very rock adventure. This is a huge book, over 880 pages, so the biggest book on my shelf. And this one, it just has so much going on. I cried so many times, I laughed so many times. I love the way the series ended and how this book did. We went it went through so much. I just love it so much. I can't really even explain everything because it would spoil the first 2 books, but let's just say there's a love triangle in this book that it ends up being exactly how I wanted it. As a joke, I suggested how I wanted it to end, and it happened. I can't really say much more because, well, I'll spoil more. Next we have Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. 3 Cassandra Clare books in this video. Is that a shock? I don't think so. But this is the 3rd book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. And this takes place in 1878 Victorian London, and this is about Tessa Gray, who is seemingly human, getting swept up into the shadow world after her brother goes missing, and she tries to find him in London. And obviously that doesn't happen because she gets swept up with the shadow hunters, and it is a story of trying to firstly find her brother, and then secondly deal with everything that comes up. And yeah, this is the 3rd book, so it's the conclusion to the trilogy, and I just love it so much. I love the romance between, like, the love triangle between Tessa, who's our main character, and then Will and Jem, who are the 2 love interests. And I love the way that this series went and ended up. This made me cry and laugh, and it was just such a good read. And this is actually a book that I've read twice versus all of the other books on this list but one I've only read once. So this is a book I have read twice. Next we have The Frost Eater by Carol Beth Anderson, and this is a kind of almost a post-apocalyptic type story. It's set 200 years after after the apocalypse, and in this world, some people have abilities. People with abilities, to access their abilities, they need to eat whatever their ability is. We follow our main character, Nora, who is a frost eater, which means she has to eat ice and snow to have access to her powers. And the story goes from Nora is the princess, and she and her father are doing a village tour, and they stumble upon a boy named Clare, who is also a frost eater, but as well as he can fly if he eats feathers. And Clare ends up going back to the palace with them for an apprenticeship type thing and to further his training. The reason why he does that is because Clare's girlfriend Zaisha went missing couple months prior or something, couple weeks, couple months or something, and he wants to find her because he believes that she was taken and didn't just leave. And this is kind of the story of Nora and Clare trying to find Zaisha and all that, and it's just it's such a fun read. Now, this would have to be the book that I'd have to call like my all-time favorite book, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And this is a book about Alex Claremont Diaz, who is the first son of America and the first son of the first female president, and Henry, Prince of Wales. And this is sort of how they go from enemies to lovers, and it is just such a cute, fluffy read. And yeah, this would have to be my favorite book of all time. For I don't know why, it made me laugh, made me cry. It literally made me fall out of bed in laughter at one of the scenes. I just love it so much. And yeah. So all of these books on this list are books that I thoroughly enjoy so much. I would suggest going and reading every single one of them well, if they're not the first in the series, go read through the series and all that. I will have all of the books linked down below, as well as the first books in the series, possibly. So yeah, that was the 10 books that are like my favorite books at the moment. I don't want to say of all time, because who knows, in 2 weeks I could read a book that all of a sudden comes onto this list. But this is as of May 18th, 2020. My favorite book. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!